to Monday nights. Was there exciting action? Yes, there was exciting action. But your comments on screen with this live and the most interactive podcast, that's the real pick tonight to follow. It's Wrestlezone. Big news on the Thunder Dome. It's staying in Orlando. We'll get into all of it and so much more. Share the link. Don't stay. We're going to get into it tonight on a Wrestlezone post-show, baby. Sing it with me. You in a Wrestlezone, baby. Yeah. I'm not alone. I gotta bring in the man from Central PA who makes it happen. The man who may or may not give it a 7.5, dog. Tom, he's too sweet in his screen, Mr. John Clark. John, how are you? Monday Night Raw, night 2 of the WWE Draft. We're gonna get into it. Your initial thoughts. Don't give me your 1 to 10 just yet. We'll get our 1 to 10 ratings in tonight's show. But what's your initial thought? Just 10 minutes removed from the show.
Decent, if I put it in one word. How about that?
I can't say it was a bad episode here. A couple of regulars join us. If you're with us for the first time, get your comments on screen. Let us know what you thought of the draft. Did the moves hit with you? Did they create some new possible storylines week to week on Monday Night Raw and Smackdown? We'll find out here. And a lot of people with different takes here. Timmy Landis already coming in saying Raw was epic. Charlotte Flair and Elias, I believe he's saying, are back. Yes, they are back. And apparently they are on. Yes, Elias is on Monday Night Raw. So we'll get into all the picks that we can follow. Raw Talk, WWE's post show for Monday Night Raw is going on right now. And John, I know I have you following that on one screen. I have 2 screens here in front of me. I have all the comments. We're on top of all the different draft lines that are coming through.
We're trusting our co-workers at Wrestlezone to keep this post updated so we get the latest information.
Yeah. And also, we'll have complete drafts of who is drafted, what specific brand, the order they were drafted in, the night they were drafted on, and all the people that are undrafted. And if that makes any possibility for them to go to any of the 3 brands, and we include NXT in that as well. No mention of NXT on tonight's Monday Night Raw or on SmackDown with the draft, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, and not just that, but also nobody from either show is actually drafted, which is different than we're used to seeing. So it looks like we're not going to get anything unless they pull a swerve on Wednesday.
Maybe there's a possibility some of those people that were undrafted popping up on Wednesday. I would say that's kind of the only connection you can get here. There was plenty of promos tonight for NXT and Ember Moon being there, a handful of Tony Storm coming back to NXT on Wednesday. So we did see some promos. It's not like they weren't completely unacknowledged, but in terms of just the shakeup of the draft itself, we didn't see any. Eddie texting in saying Raw just destroyed SmackDown in the draft picks again. Some people already saying who got the best of it. Who do you think got the best in the draft here? We'll get into the nitty gritty into who went where. But what brand do you think comes out the best? For me, I think Raw got a lot of what it needed. It needed a lot of shakeup, and the things that were kind of active and upfront that are really moving, that aren't super played out, that like the Hurt Business and Retribution. I don't think that's played out just yet. Ali being added to the Retribution, I think, is an exciting thing. Fans want to see where that goes a little bit. They seemingly got a lot of up top talent. They got AJ Styles, they got the Fiend, they got Charlotte Flair, they got a lot here.
Yeah, and I think what people seem to take into consideration is that before Raw was at a level that was way, way under, and SmackDown was a level that was way, way up.
Mm-hmm.
Raw raised the bar a little bit, but I think SmackDown is still above that. I think they maintained or got very good superstars that should, at least for me, keep them on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people joining us for the first time. Thank you. Shout out if you're watching the show for the first time, where you're from. We'll get you on screen here as soon as we can. A lot of people with different takes here. What? No NXT, says Chuck Boswell. He doesn't get it as well. And Demetrius texting in saying the Fiend and Alexa Bliss were great. They had a very, very fun segment. We'll talk about that. And they are drafted together on Monday Night Raw. We get to see more of them do their Harley Quinn Joker type thing. And then obviously there was this big rumor that we reported on Wrestlezone and has been widely reported across WrestleMania about Eva Marie, the former Total Divas star, was in WWE for a significant period of time and got plenty of heat of simply just being a very attractive lady who a lot of people didn't think could wrestle very well. with red hair, and that really aggravated fans. And she got her heat. She got some real heat in WWE, and they like to have that. There was casual fans who didn't like her. There was hardcore fans that watch every week who didn't like her.
And
But
not just because of her character. A lot of people simply thought she just could not wrestle too.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of that. Now, we didn't get any of her tonight, and there was talk that she would show up tonight, and a battle royal would be a perfect way to just kind of throw her back into the women's division amongst those other characters that she would have as her foes. But we did not get any of her. There was another WWE talent that people are very critical of her in-ring ability, though I thought she had a very good in-ring night, though she was not successful. Lana wins the dual-branded battle royal tonight. And she got slammed through the table for the fourth time by Nia Jax in the past few weeks. Earlier in the night, she failed her tag team partner, Natalya, yet again against Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Though in the ring, she was phenomenal. I mean, she wrestled almost this entire match. I thought she did some very, very good things. She did a very good vertical suplex. I'm not saying Lana's the best wrestler in the world, but this was the best in-ring performance I've ever seen from Lana in WWE. She did all of the mechanical work to make this storyline work, and at the end of the night, pushed Natalya off the apron to win the Battle Royal in the final moments, which was quite tense between her and Lacey Evans. They were really whipping Lacey Evans, swinging her into the post to win the match. Good on Lacey Evans for taking that brutality. And Lana for sweeping in. It was perfectly executed. I actually enjoy this. And now Lana goes from zero, from losing and getting smashed at the tables and having 2 divorces and a girlfriend break up with her on TV, and now she's taking on Asuka for the Raw Championship. I don't know. If you would have told me I was excited for a Lana match a few weeks ago, I would have been surprised.
You're not actually excited for the match, are you?
I'm not actually excited, but I liked how they did it. It was very. Here's the thing: people want to say, "Who wrote this? Who wrote this crap?" Right? Whoever wrote this was good. Michael Off saying Lana winning ruined Raw. Did it really ruin Raw?
No, but I think there's 2 ways they can do this. The first is Asuka just absolutely destroys her. The second is Eva Marie comes back and helps Lana win the championship. What do you think?
It would be a way to do it. I mean, if they're going to bring it back, I would say, do it in a way that gets the reaction. Because I mean, she's someone who got a lot of reactions, and people say, "Well, I don't like this person, so they shouldn't be on TV." Here's the thing.
We've got the breaking news Raw Talk draft picks in just now.
Who do we got, John? You're watching the screen.
Yep. So here we go. We got Lana on Raw.
Okay, so she's staying on Raw. That's just the ones where people stay on a show. People get mad about that because we had there was someone who fired off a comment here saying it's a waste of time that they'll just have people stay on the show that they're on. Like that kind of aggravates everyone now. But all right, so she stays on Raw.
We've got Natalya to SmackDown.
All right, so that they don't even get to have a feud now. Okay.
We have Riot Squad to SmackDown.
Surprising. I thought they would stay on Raw.
We have Riddick Moss to Raw, and we have Arturo Ruiz to Raw.
Okay, yeah. So once again, SmackDown gets 2 picks and Raw gets 3 simply because they have an extra hour. So yeah, they do tend to just get more in that way. Yeah, people also mentioning that Ali was on tonight's show but didn't show up. Yeah, well they did play like a clip, but sometimes that doesn't count, right? So let's get into it. Other highlights on Monday Night Raw. Things that I think that hit, and we'll talk about the stuff that didn't. I thought they had some great matches tonight. There were some really, really strong matchups. The triple threat between Jeff Hardy, now on Monday Night Raw with the Intercontinental Championship, AJ Styles, and a guy who's leaving Raw for SmackDown, Seth Rollins. This was a really, really good match. This is a really, really strong match. Really showed off everyone. Jeff Hardy looked like he was banged up a couple times. I know he did like a moonsault off the top and landed on top of Rollins and AJ, and it looked like maybe he banged up his knee, but Jeff gets through matches, and he always looks like he's really hurting, and this is a guy who's been through a lot of different things. Match ends with him getting smashed by a guitar from Elias, who now weaved in the whole storyline of him getting hit by the car from earlier this year, where they kind of framed.
Here's what's interesting about that whole thing. Who else got drafted to Raw?
Sheamus.
Yes.
And Sheamus was involved in that whole storyline.
This is going to come back full circle. Somebody's turning face. I think it's going to be Elias, even though he just turned heel. But is Sheamus going to turn face? I doubt it.
Everyone says WWE drops storylines, but this is one from like what, June, that they worked back in here, and it makes
Before
sense.
that, this is like May.
I mean, it made sense that Elias would want to beat up this guy who put him on the shelf for months, that he believes is told that this guy was driving a car recklessly and hurt me. You know, it would make, I mean, in wrestling's weird wide world, that makes complete sense. Dan Greathouse saying, looks like Raw is stacking the deck with talent wise to compete in the ratings and NFL. Well, you know, there's nothing to be said about that. You know, they have tough competition on Monday nights. Friday nights, you might even say that there isn't nearly as much sports on for WWE SmackDown to go up against. SmackDown for network TV does a very good number for the audience that they want, specifically men. In terms of wrestling shows, it is the highest male 18 to 49 audience and is the most watched wrestling show across the genre.
I don't think the draft actually affects ratings as much as people think it does.
Mm,
Just because they're rearranging superstars around each show, I don't think that really has an ultimately large effect on anything. Maybe the first couple weeks, but after that, it's back to normal, I think.
Trying to keep up with your comments here. A lot of you guys flying fast here. Definitely enjoy some of the people saying Lana can't wrestle. No picks for NXT. A lot of people angry about that. A lot of people angry.
And we don't have the answers for those asking why did NXT not have any draft picks. We obviously do not know the answer to that.
Triple H didn't know the answer when they did the Takeover post show recently. He did the post show media call. They didn't speak about that. That's available in our podcast feed, by the way. Go ahead and subscribe. William T. Wages saying Kevin Owens and Aleister Black had a great match. Oh, a phenomenal hardcore match. This is really, really good.
Both going to SmackDown.
Both guys going to SmackDown, so there's a possibility that could continue. Big powerbomb finish here. I thought Kevin Owens needed the win. He had been getting kind of punked out quite a bit by Aleister Black, whether it be in outside the ring attacks and different stuff like that. Though they are both going to SmackDown, this isn't a storyline I need to see continue. I know these are two big stars you could have done something with. This isn't, I would say, the best storyline. They never really explained why Aleister Black did this. And it was just kind of, these guys don't have anything going on, so they're going to fight each other. It didn't feel refined in terms of why the storyline happened.
Kevin Owens did an interview, I think last week, about this, and he was visibly annoyed by how the storyline has been. He pretty much was saying, like, you know, it's just going to probably be like a blow-off match, and that'll be the end of it. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. But Kevin Owens said that it would have made more sense if Aleister Black explained why he did what he did, but he said it all comes down to TV time, this and that. But what I would like to see come out of this is Kevin Owens go to SmackDown and feud with Sami Zayn now.
And people just don't want to get off this thing about NXT not being in the draft. They're really upset about it. Jason Lett saying it was awful. No NXT superstars, same old matches. Should be improved.
If this happened, people would have been like, well, NXT sucks now. They lost all their good guys.
Yeah, true. You can't have it both ways, guys. You can't have it both ways. And I don't think it sucked. I mean, are you telling me that Kevin Owens and Aleister Black didn't have a banger match? That was a great match. That power bomb through the table, Aleister Black could have touched the ceiling of the Thunderdome when he got all the way up there and came all the way down. I thought this was really good.
But who won? Who won?
Kevin Owens won, and he needed the win, and I think he needs to look strong moving. Aleister Black, because of his character and how flashy his finishes can be with those kicks, he can always win. He always looks dangerous. That's the kind of the way his character is built up. He can always hurt you. And it's okay. Not everyone has to be undefeated. You can't do that with everyone and have that, guys. Some people can take the loss, and it's just fine. Once again, thank you guys so much for supporting the show. If you're watching live for the first time, go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and follow us on Facebook. Like us as well. All those different things so you get the notifications on YouTube. Like, subscribe, turn the notifications on so you can get us. And, of course, check out the podcast feed. Ton of stuff there. We're going to be adding more content on the weekends following SmackDown as well. We're going to be launching that show. That'll be pretty cool. So we'll have that coming up soon. So if you want even more content from us, we'll have that for you. Getting more into SmackDown and the different changes with them, their presence here on Monday Night Raw. What do you think of SmackDown coming out of here? We mentioned that Raw seemingly got a lot, but SmackDown got quite a bit. Specifically, I've heard a lot of people comment about the women's division really being eaten up here. Charlotte Flair, she's on Raw. She returns under that, though we don't know when. And Nikki Cross moves over to Raw. Bayley obviously staying over on SmackDown. But what do you think of the shakeups here with the women in WWE in the draft?
Yeah, it seems like they definitely know that neither brand was necessarily 5-star right now.
Mhm.
And I think at this point they just really want to build up one of the two to look really good. And they're hoping on the SmackDown side that Bayley and Sasha can hold them over for quite some time until they can make something else happen. Because if you take those two out of the equation completely, the only women on SmackDown are Natalya, the Riot Squad, Bianca Belair, Carmella.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Uh,
So
but but
I'm gonna think that someone's moving up from NXT. We're gonna find out.
yes, but SmackDown as a whole, I think the men's roster still looks really good. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, King Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, Dolph Ziggler. I mean, they're still okay.
Yeah. And some of those guys that haven't been super hot top of the card, like a Dolph Ziggler, I think Dolph Ziggler is still a guy that you can do something different with him every time, and people will buy that he can have a big match. They may,
How about the and I know we'll get into this about the tag team
Mhm.
titles switching brands, but you have Ziggler and Rude demanding they want their title shot against the Street Profits, but then they get moved to SmackDown, so they're like, well, we'll take the New Day. Then they lose, and then
and then they lose.
They get drafted to SmackDown. So now they're going to show up to SmackDown and be like, "Well, we still want to match with the Street Profits for the titles."
And then hopefully they don't lose that too. Yeah, let me bring that up. Another fantastic performance from the New Day. I think that was the big talking point coming out of Monday Night Raw was that New Day were broken up. Big E is definitely full-time solo now, and he is separated from Kofi and Xavier. And I think they're going to continue to do the podcast stuff. Everyone's going to know that they're always going to have that deep connection. But this definitely leaves a path for him. He's away from Sheamus now, who he beat in that no DQ match, which I thought was the match in terms of the two draft shows. I thought that was the best match of the two draft shows from Friday to Monday, and a brutal match, breaking windshields, blood, messing each other up with food. It was just brutal. And Big E came out on top with one of the best looking dominators off the back seat of a car, off the back of a car, through a table, out. Come on. It's wild. It's fun.
I
This
think it's a
was
little
effective.
harder though when you have no fans. It's a little harder to give him that Kofi type push without the fans there making it. I guess.
Yeah, but I mean that's everything. You know, that's the asterisk to everything right now. And
Yeah, but if you're already solidified as like a main event player, it's not as big of a deal. Like when you're
Mhm,
trying to get somebody to that point, it's a little harder.
absolutely. Iridium Fierro, friend of the show. Hello, rest friend. She's like, I didn't know Raw Underground was a brand. No one got drafted to Raw Underground. Who's going to 205 Live?
We didn't even have that tonight yet again. But they
uh,
did mention it when Dabba-Kato was drafted.
Yeah, they did mention that he was that he had peered. You had previously seen him in Raw Underground and stuff like that. So, we'll see what they do with that big man there, and if we get any more Raw Underground. I mean, they mentioned it. You know, they did bring it up. They didn't treat it like it was something that you're not going to see anymore. You know, so we'll see what happens there. And also a lot of people bringing this up. David Falk, I saw this a couple times. Think it might set up Edge for SmackDown. Where does Edge go? You know, Edge is still under contract with
Edge
WWE.
goes where Orton goes, I think.
Yeah, Edge goes where Orton goes. We'll definitely see where he pops up there and see when he's ready to do it. Joseph Priestley saying the best way to get Big E over would be have him screw Kofi out of the title, but that would make sense. Why would that make sense? Because
If
I'll
they
say this,
wanted him
Joe,
to be
that
a heel,
yeah, but he's not a heel. So people just want to see they get this fan thing in their head where well, a group gets together, then the group has to break up and the group has to turn on each other. That is redundant. And I think so many things about the New Day aren't not redundant. And that is why I think a lot of people connect with him is they're this fun, happy, positive team that gets out there and does different things and looks different. The colors and their costumes, the way they have presence in their promos, the way they're passionately friends with each other, the way that they can interchange as a team. That was very fun. I think that's kind of you're not going to have that anymore. You're not going to have the three of them moving together. It will be the New Day, but will it be the same? So we'll have to see how that goes. And I think Big E has a big upside as, for lack of a better phrase, as a solo star. I mean, he had that before, and he'll have it now. And he's proven himself as a dynamic performer. I'm going to see him do some different things. Is he going to have new moves? Is he going to have a new
Uphill
look?
battle ahead. Uphill battle ahead when you have Roman as the champ, though.
I mean, yeah, him and Roman. That would be some fun business. So see, that's the thing I think people forget about in this is it makes a lot of new possibilities. There's a lot of new combinations here. You can do Bianca Belair and Bayley on SmackDown. You can do a bunch of different things. You can continue storylines like they're doing with Elias and Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. That was out of nowhere, AJ Styles now has a bunch of new possibilities, and you pair him up with a bunch of big match people. It's not all bad, right? And I think it's very on the surface to say immediately what sucks about it. But I'm seeing more things that are fresh and exciting. I think Rude and Ziggler on SmackDown can be very big stars. They have the possibility of doing that.
SmackDown Tag Division was definitely the winner in this. You have Nakamura, Cesaro, you have Rude and Ziggler, you have the Street Profits. I think they also got Lucha House Party, if I'm not mistaken, but they definitely made out more than Raw.
Another big moment tonight featured Alexa Bliss and the Fiend attacking two unfortunate people in the ring, Selena and then Angel Garza. Good to see that Angel Garza healed up pretty nicely from that injury. No, it was Andrade, but they basically had a match between the two former tag team partners, Angel Garza and Andrade. Andrade came up short, Angel split, and the Fiend hit the ring. The lights went out, and it wasn't the Fiend. It was Alexa Bliss. And she hit the Sister Abigail on Selena, and the Fiend hit his Sister Abigail on Andrade. Quite the duel moment, quite the special thing. We get more of them doing, as I mentioned, the Harley Quinn Joker act on Monday Night Raw, and these guys get to continue their hot angle, which was very exciting. A lot of casual fans care about what these two are going to do together. Very much an interesting pairing, don't you think?
We have a bone to pick with the creative team, firstly. How annoying is it that all night they advertise this women's battle royal, which includes various pictures of Alexa Bliss. I think they had Mercedes Martinez in there too.
Yeah,
they don't show up at all in the match. Why do they do this? We see it.
Is it the biggest thing though, John? Is it? It is to you, but I mean to someone.
Are
who's
you a fan
watching?
of false advertising? Because
John. I just don't think it's the biggest thing. It's let's get out our tweezers and find a hair to pull. That's just my take.
Okay, so if they say, "Hey, live next Monday night, CM Punk returns," then he doesn't return. You're not going to
yes,
be. You
that's
won't care?
different. This was this was a graphic. This was a graphic with 30 people on it. You know what I mean? If one of those people doesn't show up, I guess what? Here's the thing, John. I didn't even know until you told me that. Okay, so it was just going over my head. I didn't even know, and you just told me about that, John.
I reported on this Sunday morning, and it makes me look bad,
You made me look bad. I followed your stuff. Yeah, a lot of people with different takes here. I think
you, Joseph Priestley. Thank you. WWE false advertising. Yes, thank you.
So some people are with you here. And of course, everyone has to say this. Marion Moore saying WWE creative booking and Vince needs to stop ruining the Fiend. He's supposed to be the new Undertaker of this era. Face.
How did they ruin him?
How was he ruined? He's incredible. Here's the thing: is he ruined if he can lose a title multiple times and you still care about him? Not ruined.
That's the only complaint I've seen about him is that people are annoyed that he always seems to be in a title feud, but I don't think that's going to be the case for a while.
No, I don't think it'll be a case for a while, and I don't think he needs to be in the title picture for a while because if he drops the title, then what does it even mean? And another thing is they got to figure out a way for this guy to have matches that you get into. The match with Kevin Owens on Friday was good, but he won and he no-sold stuff, so they got to get him back to where he was Royal Rumble when he him and Daniel Bryan kind of went the distance, but you just can't beat him. He's a monster. You just can't beat him. If they can get him back there, that would be cool. And they haven't had him back there. He's done some entertaining stuff. He's done all the goggle, all the vignettes, and all those different things that you enjoy. But the stuff with Braun Strowman, it was goofy. It was too out there. If they can get all the spookiness, but get it bell to bell, and still have a monster that can perform matches that are somewhat not so supernatural, but he's still a superstar, then I'm on board. A lot of exciting stuff here on Monday Night Raw. As you said at the beginning of the show, you thought it was decent, okay, as you described it. I thought it was better than average. This was not this. This felt like an eventful Raw. You had something to tune in for week to week. You knew you were going to get some changes, and you got some. So the question now comes: the 1 to 10. 1 being Bastion Booger has been revealed biologically as your father. You're so sad. 10 is you find out that you find out that Kevin Owens is your dad. He's going to bring you to a zoo. Okay. All right. So 1 to 10. John, are we getting a 7.5, dog? What do you give it? 1 to 10. You in the chat, you're watching live. Let us know what you think too. 1 to 10.
7.
7. Did not get the precious 7.5, dog.
No.
Well, here's the thing. I guess we're matching up here tonight because I'm also giving tonight's Raw a 7. I'm looking forward to where things are going. I don't think it's the worst Monday Night Raw I've ever seen. Some things are kind of but I mean, I thought a very crafty little ending there with Lana at the end of the show. Orton and Drew are there. It's pull aparts to keep it hot with them, but they did feel wedged into the show, and even though he's the champion. But some possibilities on the show are pretty exciting overall. A lot of different shakeups with talent that were kind of stagnant. Storylines that need to be revived, like Elias and stuff with him and Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. Let's see where that goes. And Retribution doesn't feel like a complete bunch of dorks. Creative stuff tonight with Ricochet and him and Cedric Alexander kind of tying the loose end of that storyline with the Hurt Business and him not having to join the group if he lost the match. The crafty little Eddie Guerrero cheat, and I'm going to hold the chair. I thought that was really fun stuff. Little fun things like that add up, guys. I think we remember just the bad stuff. But to me, the good outweighed the bad. Tonight's Raw gets a 7 out of 10. A lot of people here giving it an 8 out of 10. Other people giving Jared Sasso gives it a 7 out of 10. Definitely some other people enjoying tonight's Raw. Some pretty good reactions to it. We have some other news for WWE today. Tell us what's going on with the Thunderdome.
Yeah, so today it was announced by, I guess, both parties mutually that the Thunderdome contract will be extended for another 4 weeks, which puts them until their last contracted date as of right now will be Saturday, November 28th.
So that would put them into is that the Survivor Series? Would that put them right up through their
Survivor Series is November 22nd this year, so it would be that they would be covered in the Thunderdome under that. So right now their first show that they would be required to leave would be on November 30th for Raw.
It's also a possibility of what happens with the NBA. That's the major tenet there, obviously, inside the Amway Center with Orlando Magic.
Right now, they're guaranteed to be able to stay there until January 1st if they want to.
Sure. So they do have a possibility to at least be there until the end of the year. But I mean, if something happens with that NBA bubble, I wonder what would happen to, if the NBA says, well, we don't want to be on the Disney Wild World of Sports campus anymore. We want to move this thing inside the Amway Center and be in a real arena. And I think WWE gets the boot, right?
I would assume, yeah. Money talks, though.
But I mean, they settled into a lane here in terms of production with the Thunderdome. Now, a couple months in, I think it sounds better. The sound, I mean, that dubbed-in sound definitely has filled out and sounded better. I think fans have gotten used to the idea of a dubbed-in crowd, and I think the Thunderdome itself with fans zoomed in. Weirdly, we're going to say that's the new normal. Initially, there was a lot of oddness with that. When that kind of came out the week of SummerSlam. But I think this has worked. I mean, you got to admit, in the long run, this has worked, and it will continue to work for WWE as long as it can. The fact that they did it, I wouldn't say it's innovative, but it's certainly the most adaptive move they've made since the pandemic happened. I mean, at the beginning, it was just, we have to find a way to do a show. We have to find a way to do these shows and try and get them in. They've had the outbreaks, and they've done the testing, and they've done everything they can. But trying to make that show look good for a Fortune 500 company with major advertisers, and make it feel like it's an interactive brand. And, this is the best you can do. Make the best out of the situation, right?
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be interesting to see what they think is the best decision for them. We've talked before about, do they bring in fans? Do they not bring in fans? Do they move somewhere? Do they not move somewhere? I think maybe within the next couple of weeks we'll find out. uh, a lot's happening in the next month. There's talks of when the vaccine's going to come out. We have an election coming up. All kinds of stuff going on. So
Yeah, and a lot of those have a big influence. Maybe if things move faster, who knows? Who knows? I mean, we do have fans at WWE events, specifically at the NXT Capital Wrestling Center, which is now kind of basically NXT's own version of the Thunderdome,
yeah,
which does feel darker. They do zoom in fans the same way they do with the technology they're using for Thunderdome, but you have live fans there too. I wonder if Raw or SmackDown or the pay-per-view events on Sundays will ever get that adaptiveness of the sense of we're going to add in the screens and we're going to add in live fans. It does look like maybe that's a test version of the next phase of the Thunderdome is, what we could do there. I love the look. I love the look of things with the way it's done in NXT. I love what they did at Takeover. I almost thought it looked a little bit better than the Thunderdome itself. But Thunderdome is fun because of the entrances and those big wide shots. Those feel like you're in an arena. The NXT one feels like it's a little bit darker, a little bit more intimate, which they are going for in terms of aesthetics.
and if they want to do something like this in an arena, the only way they can really do this where it would work is if they had the Jumbotron and the virtual screens in the lower level and they put in-person fans in the 200 section.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's no point of having those virtual video screens if you can't see them.
True.
So,
I mean, you would need to see him. I think there's a good. I think there'll be elements of this stuff used after the pandemic. If I'm WWE, it's a way to make the brand look so much more engaged. When you see the variety of different faces in the audience, and it's not just guys like you and me. It's
this
a
is a
little
way
kid,
to
it's a
fill out
mom.
the arenas that normally don't sell out.
True. I mean, and if you were in the crowd and you saw that filling out an entire section, you'd be like, "Oh, cool! It's my friends," or "Oh, one of my friends is on there. One of my friends got picked for the Thunderdome section over there, or the Thunder section, or something like that." And there's a way to do it. I'm not against it. I've gotten used to it, and there's been some fun moments with it where I see certain stuff. I loved watching one woman blow kisses. She blew kisses as Roman Reigns came out. I remember there's one time where I believe Roman Reigns had tackled someone through the barrier, and the whole barrier came down, and there was this little kid right there on a Thunderdome screen, and he lost his mind to it. And there's been some lowlights with it, initially when they had people putting stuff up on there that was you could deem inappropriate or protest type different things. But they've gotten a lot better about policing that stuff. And you told me this as well. They told you, if you're on this thing, we're taping you and we can use this. So how much of this is organic footage that's being kind of mixed in live, and how much of it isn't live? I've talked to many fans who've been on it, and they said, I can see myself on the camera and it's in real time, or at least within, a little bit of a delay. But it's certainly, you got to think the production aspect of putting this together is huge. You were a part of the first, 2 or 3 of these, right?
Yeah, I was in the first 2 or 3. I think it was just 2, but ever since then, it has definitely evolved and became different as far as the instructions you're given, what's expected from you, things like that. I see a question over here. Somebody's asking how you get on the NXT Thunderdome. I have no idea. They have not.
I would assume that works the same way, right?
No, there has been no public submissions to get on the NXT Thunderdome, so that leads me to believe that it is all repeat footage or invite only.
Mm. Which is a distinct possibility. I mean, I know it's invite only for the fans that they have there live.
Yeah.
And we're told that those fans are tested as well.
Yep.
I mean, we've heard that from several people that have talked about it. And then we're told that those fans can only go in through one entrance and only leave from one entrance. So there's a lot of protocols that they've done with that. And I guess that's built at the Capital Wrestling Center is inside the WWE.
They're let in one at a time until they get to their little pod, and then the next person's allowed to come in. So there's literally no contact with anybody else while you're in there.
There were some people that you saw in there kind of taking their masks down and stuff like that. It's not like,
I mean, if they're in their own pod, I don't see why it's a huge
sure,
issue.
but I for the look and on TV, I say keep your mask on the whole time. That's the way I feel about it. I mean, they're definitely, you hear about the way they police people at Daily Center with AEW. They've had 850 fans out there, just about 10 to 15% inside Daily Center the past few weeks. And they police those fans like crazy. So you're going to see WWE start going down that road. And maybe there is this transitional period where we start using part of the Thunderdome with some fans. Is this something we do for the first part of 2021? Is that part of what happens with WrestleMania? Who knows? Let's talk about this. We saw this coming last week. We've been talking about it for a while. I know you've been following it, and you are certainly on the side of get me back at wrestling, get me back at live events. All right, you are on the younger side. You don't fear any germ. You don't fear a single germ, John.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I know the risks, and I'm not saying that I don't care. I just think that it's time to try things.
Okay. So what's the deal here with Florida? Their governor, Ron DeSantis, recently, within the last week, has said that he wants events back at full capacity. He wanted this back in July, you know?
Yeah, he finally got his way, and we're going to have the ultimate test here in a couple of weeks when the NFL's Miami Dolphins open their doors up to 60,000 people. It's official. If they sell that many tickets, that is, but they are allowing as many people as they can get in the building. They're letting them come in.
It's interesting, you know, because that combines with the math that we've been kind of doing here with WWE, and looks like we're not going to have WrestleMania in Los Angeles, California in 2021 as advertised. And, you know, it's a fluid situation. California much stricter with their regulations, and they were strict with those regulations before they even had their biggest outbreak of cases. Now, Florida has had huge surges up and down.
Number one state right now.
They're the number one state for cases. Their entire economy is really built on tourism and events. So they don't want Disney World closing. They want it open. You know, they want those things open, and they want events that will draw people into the area to travel down for there. And a lot of their economy comes from out of state. You have people who own homes there, and the majority of their economy is built around it. So I get where there's a need for that, but science says otherwise. Now, obviously, everyone thinks that means we're going to have WrestleMania and at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida, where they were supposed to have it this year.
That's what I'm betting on.
And then they would push WrestleMania back to 2022 to meet that commitment for doing an event there. And that would actually line up with the time frame that a lot of people in LA think things are going to be there. You know, it's going to be different every part of the country. Just the way the protocols have been different in every part of the country. I think live events will be different in every part of the country.
I'll be getting to Tampa one way or the other.
You'll be getting to Tampa one way or the other.
It's funny that you brought this up because actually this was an article that I had posted to Wrestlezone on Sunday morning. The latest reported location update for WrestleMania was that they were going to move from Los Angeles to Tampa Bay, as we were discussing tonight, and then in return promise LA they would come back in 2022. Now this is interesting because this is actually what WWE originally wanted to do. The reason for this is because the Super Bowl is coming to LA in 2022.
And they wanted to have a major event in there before the Super Bowl so they could kind of get a test run.
Whoa, no. You're kind of talking about the opposite of what I am. So that's what LA wanted. But WWE wanted the opposite because they wanted to be able to gloat that they broke the NFL Super Bowl attendance record with WrestleMania attendance record. So LA originally got their way, and they got WrestleMania in 2021. Now it looks like WWE will be getting their way.
But that's circumstantial. You know what I mean? I don't think it's like, you know.
But, I mean, LA still doesn't go down without a fight right now. LA hasn't just said, well, go ahead. You know, they're still contractually trying to negotiate this out.
And you're going to have an LA that's going to be hosting the Olympics in a few years. They're going to want to have those events. And I'm not saying that WrestleMania is on the scale of the Olympics. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's bigger. It's so much bigger. The Olympics wish they were at my level, John. And so, no, but what I'm saying is they're going to want these things that kind of test that ability, not just of a SoFi Stadium where they have those things, but the sheer scale of, can we get all these people to come in on time? Can our airport work with this? Can our traffic work with this? Can we mobilize the city through multiple events, branding, all these different things? You know, it goes well beyond just the city and the venue. It goes well beyond those things. And Florida will work because with Florida, it will be really broken up by the region. You'll have people that will go into Orlando for a couple of days, and then they'll come to Tampa for it, and all that different stuff. So,
okay, so what do you think as of this moment in time? Where do you think WrestleMania will be in 2021, and do you think there will be fans, and how many?
I see. Yeah, we're going to keep doing this, and it's going to change every day that we ask about it.
Well, I haven't asked you this question yet.
No. This is all the questions at one time. I say it happens in Tampa. I say it happens in
Okay.
Tampa, and I think the reason WWE wants to do that is part of a sense of loyalty that Florida has been in terms of just handling the politics and the protocols of everything. You know, where some places have been so prohibitive just out of fear of risk, right? Whereas Florida's been like, well, we're going to benefit from taking the risk, and we're just going to do it.
Okay, so between 0 and 70,000, how many people are going
How
to
many
be in?
people? I don't think they have a full capacity event. And the reason I say that is because of optics. I don't think having 70,000 people at an event when there isn't a vaccine
Seems
uh,
crazy, doesn't it?
seems crazy. But if you do something where you can do 15, 20,000 people in an 80,000 seat stadium, you can take all that technology you got from the Thunderdome and you can use it to flesh out a stadium and put 15,000 people in there and really fill it out. That's what I think this whole Thunderdome stuff is about. Can we do this at scale? Can we take what we're doing in the Capitol Wrestling Center and take 13,000 people and build all these different screens around them and make this an immersive sponsorship thing? Because, well, God damn it, wouldn't you love Snickers to cover up the entire back end of this stadium? If we don't have fans there, then people know that Snickers was there for the people, you know, fighting in the front lines of this thing. Because that's going to be a whole nother thing.
And I'm with you.
That's going to turn into marketing.
I'm with you. I do think that it is in Tampa, and I think that it's no lower than 50% capacity.
But the thing is, then you can spread people out. Then you can break it up.
Yep.
And I still think you have a chance then. But if you
and it's still evolving. If cases get a lot worse, then we'll take back our opinion. If things get a lot better, then we take back our opinion. But as of right now, where we stand, this is what we think.
And also, you don't know how these events are going to work. Are they going to ask you to come with a positive proof of test in the last 72 hours?
I mean, they do it in the NFL, so
yeah. So I mean, are you going to be able to do that? Are you going to be able to? Yeah. Are you going to be able to do it with 50,000 people? Are you going to bar people from coming into the event internationally? Is that only going to be? Is it only going to be people from a region? You know, are you only going to be able to buy tickets if you're within like Florida and like some state nearby or something like that?
Well, I'll go to StubHub. I don't care.
Yeah, John's going. John is gonna. He is gonna sneak in.
I'll move to Florida and get a license in Florida for 2 months.
You're ridiculous. Here we go. Great fan of the show. Thank you so much for texting. And Jay Feliciano says, talking about this whole WrestleMania shakeup here thing with 2021 in Tampa. He goes, as a former Los Angelino, there we go, I just slowed up. Inglewood and the areas around would benefit from an extra yield to build and grow more for a huge event. Inglewood is not ready for large-scale crowds and tourists right now. It's worth noting that, Inglewood is hosting this event, a specific area out near LA, and they are definitely doing a lot of development in that area that a lot of people think is being done for the sake of the Olympics, and they are not at scale to get there.
And they are not having any fans for their NFL games this year also. So this stadium has still not had an event with fans yet.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people mentioning this. Sean Smith, a big New York Yankees fan, saying 100,000 people at stadium in Mexico or Canada. A lot of people have mentioned things with. I've heard a lot of Canadian wrestling fans say, "Why don't you just bring it to Canada?" But here's the thing: I don't think you're going to have fans that can get over the border.
Why not have it in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, dude, I've heard that too. I've heard that crazy one as well. A lot of people with different takes here. You can't have people out of state attend WrestleMania. A lot of people fear that. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. It's such a thing here. John Kirby saying limited capacity with pods. We'll see what happens. Is everyone going to be in their own little plastic igloo at WrestleMania? You're going to have your own little.
That would be a lot of work, and you'd be looking at like 15% capacity with all the construction that would be involved.
Other people saying bring WrestleMania to Disney World.
No,
Disney World.
No, this comment here, no.
Yeah. Brandon Herrera saying Mania needs to come to Minnesota.
No, the Super Bowl was a disaster when it was there.
Why was it a disaster? What do you know about
Because it was like 20 below in Minnesota. The airport couldn't handle all the traffic. The roads were horrible. The weather was just miserable. The NFL already said they only went to Minnesota for the Super Bowl because it was a brand new stadium. They promised them. They're never going to go back there And Minneapolis has been second place in WrestleMania voting like 4 years out of the past 8. They get second place for a reason.
Well, here's the thing. I'll say this to you.
They would win by now if they were going to go there.
John, I would say this to you, and I know you're NPA, and you're a short trek from Philadelphia. Philadelphia has always been in the running here for the past
They always get second place, too.
And it's a cold market. And hot
Yeah.
market city is always going to be out of cold market city in terms of weather. That
Well,
time
and
of
at
year in the
least in
spring.
Minneapolis, it's indoor, but Philly would have to be outdoor. And in April, you're taking a risk with the weather. So
Mhm.
I say just keep your rotation of Miami, Phoenix, New York area, and maybe New Orleans. There you go.
I'm of the thought you got to bring it somewhere else. It's got to go to Vegas. They have the brand new stadium out there. They
Yes,
haven't been
it's
there in a
going to
long
go there in
time.
like 2023
It's
probably.
due to be in Canada. Toronto is a great wrestling city, deserves a WrestleMania.
Chicago.
Montreal, I think, would be a great city for WrestleMania.
Chicago.
Vancouver has never hosted one.
What about Chicago? They're the biggest wrestling
Oh,
city.
dude, I love Chicago, but here's the
Thank
thing:
you.
you're gonna have the same problem.
Yeah, I
The
know. With
spring,
it being outdoor, yeah.
springs for us
You
sometime.
live there, you know. You live
Oh,
there.
dude, spring here sometime can be really brutal. Like we've had times when we get out of February is the worst time, but then it'll just be like very, very cold and it won't let up, and then it'll just break at some point in
When are
April.
the Bears getting that new indoor stadium?
Oh, dude, they're never going to get a new indoor stadium. Don't even tell me how angry I am. Soldier Field, when you get inside of it, the new one that they just kind of built a stadium inside the shell of the old one. Soldier Field would be a great place for WrestleMania, but here's the fact: it's the smallest stadium in the NFL. It's 65,000 for football. So then you'd be doing like maybe 72 for a WrestleMania. You're getting about another 8,000 on the field. For WWE, it's like, where's the capacity number? Where can we actually blow this number out? It's one of those things that like made Chicago not really ready to host the Olympics when we made the bid. We were going to have to build a 100K stadium that would be temporary, and like that isn't an event. They want something full and functional.
Well,
I want to say Chicago can do this. It can, in terms of all the other side venues that you would have, right?
let's listen to the comment here from Steven Chambers, and why not have WrestleMania at a NASCAR speedway like Bristol? They have like 160,000 in there.
I've heard that too. And you can build kind of like a temporary thing and get all the seats
Yes.
in there. And you could then do what you did in Dallas, where you had like one of the biggest large crowds. But I think for WWE, the reason you don't go to that event is because then you're leaning on so much of it being outdoors. You're leaning so much on so many of the fans being outdoors. And then there's a lot of fans that don't want to pay the same type of money. If they pay and they get the stadium arena experience, then you can be indoors in a controlled environment. They want that. And there's sponsorships that spend much money on that, and they want that experience. Not to say that NASCAR can't bring in sponsors. They obviously can. But I've heard a lot of people pitch that idea. Why don't they go to these NASCAR stadiums and do something there? And also then you have the track that creates the barrier between, maybe even a production setup where you can have a different controlled audience in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities, a lot of things you can do there. I love that we turned this whole second segment of the show into all these different discussions about what could happen with WrestleMania. People want to see it go to Dallas, the Cowboys Stadium. They already played there a few years ago. They played there recently. People want to see it in Arizona.
It's been there in the past couple of years too.
They had the Rumble, right? They had the Rumble down there recently.
Yeah, you're right.
Then people say, how about Hawaii or Alaska? Hawaii before Alaska.
That'd be a logistical nightmare to fly all that stuff out to Hawaii.
Yeah, but it would look cool. It would definitely have a vibe to it if they did it in Hawaii. So. I know every time we talk about where WrestleMania should go and where it isn't, I love this is just organic. We went in this direction.
It's all
here.
biased all the time. Like I'm still pulling for Philly for obvious.
Oh yeah,
reasons.
of course you're pulling for Philly. But I've always been on the side of. I always thought that the UK deserved a WrestleMania, or at least deserved something on the scale what they got with Wembley in '92.
It has to be somewhere that is like a touristy place. Like you got Miami, Tampa. Okay, we go to the beach forever. But like it's like, well, if it's in Seattle, like, what's there to do in Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
It's in Minneapolis. What am I going to do in Minneapolis?
Do you have the other events? Do the other centers around it? Do you have an arena that you can pair with this that works?
Obviously in LA, it's LA. I mean,
do you have a convention center? Can you have a convention center? And then you look at the industry wide. Do the other smaller events? Do they have enough of those to run? The city will look at that. Not so much WWE will, but the city.
The city wants the money.
Yeah, obviously they want the money.
Hundreds of millions of dollars comes into the city that whole week.
Tons of money. Tons of
That's why
money.
they bid to have this show there.
Yeah, and it's something you want for sure. We'll be covering a whole lot more of the stories with Dark Side of the Ring. The new season of that is coming out on Vice TV. We'll be covering that on tomorrow's show. We'll cover more of the fallout of the draft. What's going to happen? What is the nitty gritty? Where are the new matches and storylines
Now
being paired up with here?
we should mention that as of this writing, there are still 5 free agents left that have not been assigned to a brand. That is Zelina Vega, Tamina, Billy Kay, Eric, and Andrade are still free agents.
All right, so that's a thin pickings right there. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, you have plenty. That's only a couple people that if you want to see them show up on NXT, that only creates a few possibilities there.
I'd be okay seeing Andrade go back. He was in the best match I've ever seen in person ever. So
What? Who was that? Where was he?
Andrade against Johnny Gargano NXT Takeover in Philadelphia was the
Woo!
best match I've ever seen in person ever.
Oh man, that was a banger. I remember that one. That was an absolute banger. Did he get hurt in that?
I believe so. Yeah.
Like that was
The
his
match
send
was
off.
like 50 minutes long. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was his like last match there too.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for texting in, watching the show live. I hope you really enjoyed it. People complaining, oh, they got to have a WrestleMania in Mexico. See, I was going to see it. Everyone, if you're in a town and WrestleMania hasn't been there, why don't you tell us why WrestleMania has to be there?
Wimbledon. That fits like 2,000 people.
Yeah, it's not gonna be in Wimbledon. They're gonna play. They're gonna have the ring on clay. What are you gonna do here? Come on now.
Unless he meant to say Wembley.
I think he meant to say Wembley.
Okay.
Yeah. But Milligan saying, "What about Kansas City? If you're watching this on demand, if you're listening on demand, where are you listening? And tell us why WrestleMania needs to come to your city, even though it likely won't come to your city. I will answer those." If you're watching this on demand, please, I want to answer your pitch me why WrestleMania needs to come to your city. Already people saying WrestleMania in Australia. I'm in Australia. Bring it here. All that fun stuff. I enjoy these conversations when they come up. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. If you had a good time, hit that like button. Hit that like button wherever it is. It really helps us with the algorithms. We're still developing the show, creating hours and hours of content for you every single week. All right. Hours of it. We have bonus shows as well. On Fridays, we have AEW Focus Show, 2 Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes. We're launching a SmackDown post show that'll pop up on the weekends as well. And I'll have I'm going to have new wake up updates that you'll have in the middays. Those will be video only. Won't get those on the podcast side. So if you do follow us on YouTube or Facebook, those will kind of pop up on your feed, something for you to follow every day and also interact with us just like you do on the full shows. We're doing post shows through the pay-per-views, all the different stuff we're doing. And also, some of you guys are going to win prizes. What could you win? John wants to win. John, you can't win the prizes. John, don't point at yourself and say you want to win the prizes. You're on the show. That would defeat it's for the fans, for the Wrestlezonians.
The privilege to sit one row behind me at WrestleMania 37.
I gotta buy people WrestleMania tickets. You think I got that? I don't get that coin.
I didn't say you had to buy them. That's where they get to sit.
They get to sit 20 feet behind you in their own little air sealed pod. That's where they get to sit. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. Also want to thank everyone at the Milwaukee Comedy Festival. I performed there this past weekend. I did 3 shows. It was absolutely fantastic. If you watched it online, thank you so much for that. I really, really do appreciate that. This was a big, big thing for me. I felt safe the entire time I did it. Felt like everyone was spaced out. I drank some really, really good craft beer. I had some really, really good comedy shows. Check out everything that Milwaukee Comedy does. I believe they're going to be streaming some more events before the end of 2020. Support your local comedy venues however you can, even if you can't go to them. Search them up in your own little area. And check me out here. We're going to be doing more stuff on WrestleZone, a whole lot more, especially in the next few weeks here. John, why don't you tell them when you're on the news desk so they can just when you're covering the topics as they come out, let them know when you're up there.
Sunday morning, throughout the day, really, whatever's coming up, I got it up there. Interviews, updates. Like I said, this past weekend, got it up there about the news on WrestleMania the next 2 years. Was a pretty hot article that was pretty big. You probably noticed it too. And then on Twitter, John R. Clark 12, and of course here, and you know what nights. I don't need to remind them.
You're always with me, buddy. You want some more ridiculous WrestleMania suggestions, WrestleMania location suggestions?
Don't say Alcatraz.
Yes, we got Alcatraz. Vernon texted in saying, "Do it, yeah." It's come on behind bars. WrestleMania behind bars. I would be down for that if they did that. That'd be nuts. I would love that if they went to Alcatraz. That is an incredible suggestion.
This has to be addressed quickly because I've seen it from like 5 different people in the comments. We know John Cena was undrafted. We never expected him to get drafted. He's not coming back.
It's okay. He's not coming anytime soon. Here's another crazy, ridiculous WrestleMania suggestion. Why don't you have it at Dollywood? Come on. Dollywood.
Here's one. Why don't we have it in the Thunderdome?
Look, hey, who knows? There's a possibility it could be in the Thunderdome, man.
Citrus Bowl, Orlando, Florida. I'll see you
there. You go. You're calling all the shots here, man. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Hope you had a really, really good time. Once again, keep hitting that like button. Keep following us and everything we're doing at Wrestlezone. Everyone thinks, oh, they're just one of those big wrestling websites. We are, but we're an independent crew of guys that have put this together. Guys and gals working behind the scenes on this thing. People you don't see all the time, like Bill Pritchard. People like Tyler Treese and Dominic D'Angelo. You can see their content pop up in the feed that maybe they're not here with you. Yeah. What'd you say, buddy?
Mr. Porter with the results.
Oh, Lavelle Porter. Oh, Lavelle Porter is like, he is holding this show up. When he holds up everything we do at Wrestlezone. He is one of the hardest working guys. He does all of our live TV coverage. He's incredible. And Colin Tessier is going to be joining us at some point here in the podcast feed as well. Robert DeFelice. I shout these people out because when you read the articles, you'll see their names and they're all a part of it. And just a lot of great people. Nash as well. John Clark. Alex Santamaria, all those great people, and our great friends at Mandatory Media for supporting everything we're doing here. I bring this up because we're going into November. By the time we know it, we're in January. And hopefully, as I always say to you, I hope we get that shot in the arm sooner than later. And science wins the way. One of these trials comes through, and no matter where everything is politically, that we're safe. We're safe, and we get to be back at the matches, wherever those matches are, whether they're in a VFW hall or they're in a big stadium, or they're in the Thunderdome. We hope everyone's safe. I almost forgot this. October 29th, I'll be back on pay-per-view on Fight.tv with AAW. So definitely go order that event. We'll be talking to some of the talent. I just put up an interview I did with Mance Warner, covered in blood. I tried to keep my distance from him after his brutal match with John Christ. That's up on my Twitter feed. Give me a follow at Kev Kellam. Give him a follow at John Clark. And remember, when watching wrestling, you are supposed to do what, John?
Enjoy wrestling.
You're damn